Now, we're going to read the introduction to SphereBeingAlliance.com. Before you really get into the meat of it, this is an introduction. If you want to follow this man down the rabbit hole, this will give you all the information you need to know.
Briefly, what does the website look like?
Oh, it's actually pretty good.
It's a good one?
But,
Too bad.
Yeah,
Really?
by UFO standards, it's actually all right.
But if you go to the Epic Discovery group, there's the EPIC, which is a guy named Jeff Mars is in there. Like, that is full angel fire.
All
That's
right.
enough.
Yeah. Now, this one is like on par with the International UFO Museum and Research Institute.
He had a designer.
Yeah.
He's got capital.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's read this. With all of the events occurring, quote-unquote, above and below, there is a lot of, quote-unquote, information, quote-unquote, disinformation, and competing, quote-unquote, agendas that are all competing for fertile places in our, quote-unquote, consciousness to plant their, quote-unquote, seeds. Some people have chosen to focus on the more, quote-unquote, down-to-earth events and the battles over the, quote-unquote, financial debt system, Babylonian money magic slave system, quote-unquote, financial resets, quote-unquote, financial jubilee, and gifted money to the masses in, quote-unquote, prosperity settlements. There is an element of what we call, quote-unquote, the alliance that is fighting the current controlling elite known as the, quote-unquote, cabal or, quote-unquote, Illuminati, among other names down here on Earth at this very moment. Some people have chosen to focus on the more, quote-unquote, esoteric, for now, events and battles occurring above our atmosphere and what many are referencing as the, quote-unquote, secret space programs and, quote-unquote, breakaway civilizations. There is quite a lot of classified technologies that are in use in these, quote-unquote, programs that are being suppressed and could completely change the nature and quality of life of every human being here on Earth. The quote-unquote free energy technologies would end the need of the quote-unquote current oil petro energy companies. The quote-unquote frequency and light healing technologies would end the quote-unquote current pharmaceutical corporations. The quote-unquote neurological interface technologies would end the need for quote-unquote
large education institutions.
And the quote-unquote food replication technologies and the quote-unquote environmental purification and restoration technologies would end poverty, starvation, and begin to reverse the damage humanity has done to the Earth virtually overnight.
As you can imagine, the real threat to disclosure is not that humanity cannot handle the truth or will be able to reconcile quote-unquote cosmic life with their religious beliefs. The real reason is that these technologies would immediately collapse the world economies and make the quote-unquote Babylonian money magic slave system of no use anymore. It means the quote-unquote loss of control of the 0.01% elite over the quote-unquote masses and a complete quote-unquote paradigm change. In short, it means quote-unquote freedom. Freedom for the first time in humanity's quote-unquote known recorded history. There has been a quote-unquote stealth civil war going on amongst quote-unquote SSP groups for a while to achieve this result. Relatively recently, quote-unquote SSP Alliance was joined by a group of quote-unquote beings that no one had encountered before. They are a 6th to 9th density group of beings that have been referred to as the quote-unquote the Sphere Alliance. These new quote-unquote sphere beings have since not only created a quote-unquote energetic blockade around Earth, but have done so around our entire solar system. They are a non-violent group of beings who brought assistance mainly in the form of a quote-unquote message.
Ben, what is that message?
I think you guys are really good at that.